Welcome back to the Michael Cohen Show on our continued journey to 500,000 subscribers. So do me a favor, hit subscribe, watch, comment. I love the comments. It makes me better. And share with friends because, again, every single day, the nonsense will continue. So look, let me take it back a day. Trump had an incredibly eventful weekend. And his surrogates, unfortunately, embarrassed themselves terribly on live TV, not just for America, but for the whole world to see. But before we get to those clips, I do want to say when Trump had an eventful weekend, he managed to yet again win a golf club championship and posted this on his Truth Social app. In it, he turns around and he says, "I just won the golf club championship, probably my last at," wait for it. He won the golf club championship at Trump International Golf Club in Palm Beach County, Florida. Such a great honor. The awards dinner is tonight at the club. I want to thank the wonderful golf staff and all of the many fantastic golfers that participated in the he meant event. Such fun. So I just want to play this out for a quick second. So let's take my water bottle and pretend that this is going to be the Tiffany trophy that Trump has everywhere because he's won like 20 of these golf club championships. Now, as the president and CEO of the Trump organization, even though it's turned over to probably Eric or Don, it will still be Donald getting up and saying, "I'm so honored to present to myself this absolutely incredible, once again, championship trophy that I purchased for myself to honor myself in yet another golf club championship win here at the incredible, the beautiful, the magnificent Trump Golf Course." I mean, if that in and of itself isn't comical, I'm not really sure that is. I would love to see Saturday Night Live, who I'm sure watches this. I'd love to see them do some sort of a skit onto it and then have a whole bunch of the members that turn around and say, "Come on," right? You know, listen, one, he's a good golfer. Let me be very clear. He's like a 3 or a 4 handicap. And that's truly legit. But he's not a scratch player like many of the people that he plays with and against. And yet he seems to somehow beat them time and time again. Now, I want to just show you a lovely video showing the incredible technique that Trump used to secure this historic win. Play the clip. I mean, if that isn't classic Trump, I don't really know what is. Meanwhile, let's get to his surrogates, because if you think that putt was funny, just wait till you see the stupidity of his surrogates. Well, none better, of course, than MAGA Mike Johnson, who decided to, let's just say, take after Trump and wants to be a mini Trump. Also seemed to get the Mar-a-Lago makeover special, spray tan and all, because again, he wants to be mini me. Play the clip.
Well, here's what we tried to do. We wanted to pass a resolution that would effectively freeze spending so that the administration can continue its incredible work through DOGE and through the other efforts of the administration to go in and root out the fraud, waste, and abuse that we've been trying to target in Congress for decades. But we haven't been able to get to it because we didn't have the algorithms that Elon has. We didn't have the access to all the data and the funding. And so now the game has changed. So we needed to...
Seriously, he looks like his kids decided to play dress up on daddy with mommy's makeup and put on just like pounds and pounds of blush, right? That same sort of brown spray tan that, you know, Trump is historically known for. Now, let's move on to, I mean, you can't make this stuff up. Let's take a look at Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, who showed legitimately just how out of touch he is with the average American, claiming that no American actually wants to buy a flat screen television. No, seriously. This is where we have, with our elected leaders and so on, with the president's cabinet, that we are now focusing. No American wants to buy a flat TV. Play the clip.
I ask you about something that you actually said last week, and we'll discuss it on the other side. Take a look.
Access to cheap goods is not the essence of the American dream. The American dream is rooted in the concept that any citizen can achieve prosperity, upward mobility, and economic security.
Mr. Secretary, are you there essentially saying that the Trump administration is comfortable to have consumers pay more for goods in America?
Not at all, Kristen. What I was saying is the American dream is not let them eat flat screens. That if American families aren't able to afford a home, don't believe that their children will do better than they are. The American dream is not contingent on cheap baubles from China, that it is more than that, and we are focused on affordability, but it's mortgages, it's cars, it's real wage gains.
Do you acknowledge?
It's mortgages, it's cars, sure. So the tariff on softwood is going to make housing costs increase by at least 30%, all right? Cars, the tariffs on steel and aluminum by over 20%. So I understand you don't want cheap flat screen televisions. That's great. Let's make them here in America, where the flat screen television that you could walk in to Costco or Walmart or any of the stores and buy for like $190, $200 will now be $2,000, because we want upward mobility. Let me be very clear about something that I had written in again in a different Substack, which is why billionaires make terrible leaders. It's because they are completely out of touch with the reality of what takes place day to day in the life of the average American. Now you say, Michael, you're picking on Scott Bessent. He's not a billionaire. That's true. He's not. He's only worth about $510 million. In fact, his house, which is known as like the Pink Palace, it's a townhouse downtown, I believe is on the market for something like $23.5 million, which to me sounds very average, right? For the average American in the United States, $23.5 million with, cash and securities in the bank to the tune of $510 million. Yeah, that's not what they want. They don't want cheap goods coming in from that. Absolutely, that's exactly what America wants, and that's exactly what the average American expects. And that's what they've expected and that they've purchased over the course of their entire lives, Scott. Now, I want to bring you up to National Security Advisor Mike Waltz. He was asked, how can we be sure that Trump isn't being played by Putin? Play the clip.
Along the border, how do you know President Trump isn't being played right now by Putin?
Well, look, that's almost laughable. I'll take President Trump in dealing with the likes of Xi, of Kim Jong-un, with Putin and others. Certainly, ahead of his predecessor. And really, as both President Putin and Zelensky said on our first call just a few weeks ago, only President Trump could drive this to an end. Mm-hmm. Only President Trump could bring this war to look. Jackie, we know who we're dealing with. We know who we're dealing with on all sides. And we are going to engage in diplomacy. We are engaging in diplomacy, and that will involve both carrots and sticks to get both sides to the table, but to also resolve this in a way that is permanent and enduring.
Wow. Okay. Let us all acknowledge that if Trump and his administration, whether it's Waltz, whether it's Witkoff, makes no difference to me, as long as peace is the ultimate objective, as long as peace ultimately comes to fruition. But so far, let me tell you what we've heard. And again, I don't want people to think that this program, this show is about Trump bashing. It is not. It is taking things that have been said and applying them legitimately to today. We had heard during an entire campaign that within 24 hours, this war would come to an end. Now, we all knew that that was bullshit. That was pure rhetoric coming out of a campaign, basically raw meat to his base. All right. My concern is what is being hung over Ukraine's head at this moment, which is you give up all of your mineral rights. You give up territories that the Russians have taken, and whatever properties, whatever locations that have been taken by Ukraine, you return that to Russia as well. And in exchange, we're going to give you what? Well, we're not going to give you any assurances, that's for sure. And we're just going to force Russia to accept these very stringent conditions, which of course they're not, in order to get peace. Question becomes, what happens if once again Putin violates that? Where will Ukraine be then? As again, one of the other key conditions is that Ukraine not be permitted into NATO. These are the problems. This isn't a negotiation. All right, this is taking some terrible, terrible items and ramming it down the throats of the Ukrainian people. And I want to remind each and every one of you that Ukraine is a democracy. Russia is not. Ukraine has always been, for a very long time, America's ally. Russia is not. Let me go and show you what he had to say about Iran. Play the clip.
Accountable. Does that mean direct military action on Iran is possible?
Well, all options are always on the table with the president, but Iran needs to hear him loud and clear. It is completely unacceptable, and it will be stopped. The level of support that they've been providing the Houthis, just like they have Hezbollah, just like they have the militias in Iraq, Hamas, and others.
Again, we don't even need him to answer because we already know what they're going to be saying. But meanwhile, Special Envoy to the Middle East, Steve Witkoff, he actually spoke about the potential ceasefire between Russia and Ukraine. Play that clip.
And decisions will be made on whether to move forward with this 30-day ceasefire that the U.S. and Ukraine have agreed to, but Russia, at least publicly, has not.
Well, President Trump is the ultimate decision maker, our decision maker, and President Putin for the country of Russia is their decision maker. I think it's a very positive sign that the two of them will be talking at some point. I think that's showing that there's positive momentum, that there's an inclination on the part of both countries, and by the way, this includes Ukraine as well, to get to a long-term, durable peace here.
I feel smarter already. Meanwhile, Marco Rubio defended the retaliatory tariffs, right? I mean, just another administrative blunder. Play that clip.
These policy announcements and pullbacks are causing concern in the marketplace, as we saw this past week. So I heard you describe what seemed like a strategy to get to negotiations on a bilateral front. You also seem to negotiate, you say this was national security minded, but then we also see comments by the president of like 200% tariffs on champagne. That's not a critical industry for the United States. That seems more emotional.
No, that's called retaliation. That's what happens in these trade exchanges. They're going to increase tariffs on. They already have high tariffs. They're going to add more to their tariffs. Fine. Then we'll have to find something to. I mean, you tell me. I mean, Canada's going after whiskey and orange juice and
retaliation.
Yeah, exactly. So that sounds pretty petty to me as well. So what's the difference? The point is, I get it. I understand why these countries don't like it, because the status quo of trade is good for them. It benefits them. They like the status quo. We don't like the status quo.
Wow. And this ass clown is our Secretary of State. Finally, let me show you Bernie Moreno, Republican Ohio Senator, who dismissed any claims that tariffs are going to cause a massive auto production halt. Play that clip.
American production might not happen at all. S&P Global is forecasting a massive production halt for the auto industry, with the probability of an extended disruption at 50%. It reads, with tariffs now imposed on Canada and Mexico, we expect significant disruption in the region. S&P Global Mobility sees potential for North American production to drop by up to 20,000 units per day within a week. We now expect that the tariff posture, messaging, and coverage through 2025 will be erratic, placing automakers and suppliers mid or long-term vehicle and facility planning in virtual gridlock. That does not sound like a manufacturing boom.
Well, look, these experts are funded by lobbyists who have an agenda. Look, it's very simple. I talk to car company CEOs from all over the world every single solitary week. And the consistent message is we're going to build more in America.
No, they're not. No, they're not. Again, we're going to build more in America. Tell me, please, how? We don't have the aluminum. We don't have the steel. We don't have the manufacturing facilities within which to do it. They're basically, again, just parroting Trump's wishes, wants, his comments, many of which are just pulled out from the air. If we had manufacturing facilities to do it, sure, I would own that and say, yeah, great, let's build more in America. That's unfortunately not what's going to be happening. And you're going to see, unfortunately, that I'm right. And as always, thanks for listening. Hey, everyone. First of all, thanks for watching. We're going to be posting daily episodes with reactions and talking about politics. We'll be talking about everything, in fact. So please like and subscribe. Join us on this journey.